Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Angelina and today I'm going to be talking about some of my 2023 reading stats and then some of my 2024 reading goals. I will have timestamps down below if you want to jump around, but I feel like this could end up being a long video, so let's just get straight into it. In 2023, I managed to read 162 books for a total of 43,962 pages, which I understand that this is a lot of books for most people. However, this number is neither low or high on the scale of how much I'll read in a year. It's kind of just in the middle. So I don't really have too many opinions about this number. It's kind of just there. I kind of wish it was more like an even number, like 160 or like 165, like that. Just, I don't know, because it's more pleasing to me. I did end up DNFing 11 books last year. I do have an entire video about these books. I will link that video in the description and in the cards above if you want to check it out. But I did have a pretty, I don't want to say bad reading year. I just had sort of a low average rating. I had a 3.4 out of 5-star average rating. This is on the lower end for me, but I kind of figured that a lot of the books I ended up rating 3 stars. So yeah, it's, it is what it is. I talked about it in my video about all the books I DNF, about how it's fine. I'm trying to think about it on the bright side, where if I had a bad reading year in 2023, then that just means 2024 can only go up, and hopefully I read more really amazing books. So, okay, breaking down all the genres I read 2 classics, 13 contemporary, 2 dystopian, 29 fantasy, 1 historical, 17 horror, 2 general fiction, literary fiction type books, 2 mysteries, 11 nonfiction, 44 romance, 20 sci-fi, 17 speculative books, and 2 thrillers. And as far as these genre breakdowns go, I feel not too bad about them. I will talk some more about this in my goals, but I do have some goals relating to the genres of books that I plan to read this year. About 78% of the books that I read last year contained some sort of diversity and representation, and this is pretty much where I want it. I want the majority of my books, so over 50%, to contain some sort of diversity, whether that be race, ethnicity, mental health, religion, plus size representation, any sort of representation I track, and I'm very pleased with that number being 78%. Again, my general goal is just above 50%. I just want the majority of the books I'm picking up to have some sort of representation. Breaking this down a little more, 90 books that I read last year were by authors of color, and then 13 of the books that I read last year were by debut authors, 60 books were by new to me authors, and 89 books were by authors I've read from before. And I don't really have too many opinions on this, so yeah. Now this one I think is kind of fun, and this is breaking down where I acquired each book that I read. So 23 of these were ARCs, whether that be sent to me from the publisher or through NetGalley. 14 were audio review copies from Libro.fm. I also have a referral code down in the description below if you want to check out Libro.fm. I think it's a great site, and any books that you buy through them do go to help support an indie bookstore of your choice. 20 of the books that I read were borrowed physically from my library, and then 65 were digitally borrowed from my library through the Libby app, which I love that app so much. Then 3 of the books were actually gifted to me, 28 were books I physically owned, and then 1 book was from a book box. The month that I actually ended up reading the most books, which I thought was pretty funny, was actually February, the shortest month of the year, and that is because I managed to read 28 books in 28 days. I did do an entire video talking about all of the books that I read in that month, so I will go ahead and link that in the description and up in the cards if you want to check it out and see all the books. And then the month that I read the least was actually November. I only read 2 books. I was very much in a reading slump, and I was kind of just focused on doing a lot of other things, which was fun, but I did only read 2 of those books. And they were pretty mediocre, so November was not a good reading month for me. However, my best reading month, or the month that I had the most 5 stars, was in January, where I had 4. Again, 2023 was not the best reading year for me, so honestly, 4 5-star books in a month was pretty amazing. However, that was just at the beginning of the year, so it definitely went downhill from there. Okay, but now we're going to move on to my goals for 2024. And I would like to say that I kept the number of goals short. However, some of these goals are definitely going to be pretty hard to achieve, so let's just talk about them. First, my reading goal. Every year I set it at 100 on Goodreads, except for 1 year when I set it at 200 books, and I actually believe I surpassed that, but you know, that was kind of just like a fluke year. I'm perfectly fine at 100. That is very doable for me, and I don't want any added like stress or pressure to like read more, so I like to stick at 100, and if I read more than 100, that's great. If I don't hit that, which I don't see happening, but you know, if I don't, it's fine, because it's through Goodreads and I can change it, and then no one has to know. But my next goal is that I want to continue reading nonfiction. I really enjoy pretty much every single nonfiction book that I pick up, so I do want to prioritize reading more of them. I do sort of have like a number goal, just being 12, just because that's 1 more than I read in 2023. So I feel like 12, again, that's 1 a month, that's very doable. However, I do want this to be the year of nonfiction for me, but we shall see how that goes. Another goal I have is to read 6 books, or pretty much 6 classics, off of my best 100 books scratch off poster. So I got this poster a few years ago for Christmas, and it's basically a poster of 100 of the best books of all time, and you can scratch them off when you've read it. And I am a completionist, and because I have to stare at this poster every single day, I would really like to complete it. However, classics aren't exactly my thing. They're just, not many of them interest me, especially the ones on this poster, but I do want to work at reading all of the books on there. So I'm setting my goal at 6, and you know, I also had this goal last year and I failed at it, but that's okay, because we're setting our, you know, expectations lower, and I think 6 I can manage to work in my year. And then sort of my big goal of the year is to stop using NetGalley. I have had NetGalley since high school. I've had it since high school, and you know, I requested so many books. There was a lot of read now books, or you know, when they send their little promotional emails out and they're like, hey, you should read this book. And me, I just said yes to anything pretty much. I would request anything that sounded slightly interesting, and basically I tanked my review score. If you don't know, on NetGalley, they want you to be at an 80% review score of books that you have been accepted to read, and like the ones you have actually read. That way, publishers know that when they approve you to read a book, you have a good chance of actually getting around to it. However, I have tanked my review score very much. I think I have 50 books left to read. I did start working on this last year, sort of like unofficially, but this is my year of actually reading every single one of those books and to just stop using NetGalley, because I feel so much pressure when there's a book I really want to read and then I get approved for it, and then like, because I'm a mood reader, I just won't be in the mood to read it, but I feel so much pressure to review the book before it's actually like published and everything. So yeah, honestly, I gotta stop. There's no more requesting books this year, and I'm just gonna focus on reading those 50 books that I have on there. So that one is going to take some time, especially because a lot of those books are ones that I requested many years ago, and my tastes have drastically changed. A lot of these books that I have to read are YA, and a YA is not really my thing anymore. So it's gonna be a bit of a challenge, but I'm hopeful that I can do it. That way I don't have to worry anymore about it. And yeah, then I'm just free to mood read just as I please without having to worry about deadlines and all of that. And then just my last like loose goal is just to make this the best reading year that I can, that I'm like in control of. Again, I do have some projects that might, you know, like reading all these NetGalley books where they aren't really my thing. I am a big DNFer, so if I'm not enjoying one of these books, I'm perfectly fine DNFing them, and I just want to make this year a good reading year. So some of the things I want to sort of focus on doing in order to make that happen is to read more books by my favorite authors. I feel like I just hoard a lot of books, buy them, because I just know they're gonna be good, and then that makes me not want to read them. I don't know, but that is definitely a goal of mine. Read more books by my favorite authors, continue more in series that I know I love, because I'm terrible at completing series, but even more so when I'm loving them, especially if the next book isn't out, but I do want to focus on that. And also just picking up books that sound interesting to me, really, you know, paying attention to like the synopsis and all of that, like not going based off of tropes anymore, but like the actual full synopsis about the book I want to focus more on and make sure that I actually have an interest in that book before I pick it up and read it. So yeah, those are all of my goals for this year. And yeah, I'm excited. You know, new year, it's clean slate. I'm excited, but that's all I have for you guys today. Leave a comment about what your goals are for the new year, and don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you feel like it, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!